Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of Ausdauer Financial, where we cover financial news, tips and strategies with your finances, accounting questions, bookkeeping issues, tax tips, anything under the sun, financial related. Happy to discuss it with you and provide you a video on it. Now, everybody loves receiving a tax return. Nobody likes filing it. And there are a lot of people who skirt filing altogether, and we'll deal with that in a future video. But for purposes of those law-abiding citizens who do actually file their returns and entitled to get a refund, out of 320 million people in the country, you're eliminating a large section of the population because fundamentally, not everyone is required to file. Legally speaking, not even talking about documented versus undocumented. I'm talking just outright legal requirements of those required to file. There are certain criteria under which you must actually file a return. Not everyone qualifies, i.e. senior citizens don't always qualify or are required to file. For those that are required to file, and those that do file, many of them do get refunds. There are some that do things during the course of the year that require them to pay, and we're not talking about those because those are not entitled to get a refund. Those who do get a refund enjoy getting those and look forward to getting that extra money in their pockets because everybody needs a financial boost every year, and it definitely comes in handy. The tax filing deadline, normally April 15th, was pushed back to during the CARES Act to July 15th, and there's talk on Capitol Hill from the Stephen Mnuchin, I think his name is, how you pronounce that, the Secretary of the Treasury, is just talking, and because it's just talk, I don't talk about the HERES Act or other things in Congress that have not been voted on, but because Mnuchin has the ability to propose pushing it back, we'll see what happens. But there is talk about moving the tax filing deadline back to September 15th. Now, under a normal tax year where you're due on the 15th, you can file for an extension up to 6 months. I know that when I lost my mom in 2012, I had to file an extension because there was no way I was going to be able to go through the grievance process and get all my taxes done by April 15th. It just wasn't going to happen. My extension was pushed back to a required to file by October date. And yeah, I got it done beforehand, but that experience showed me that the IRS will more than likely provide an extension to those who request it. They don't really have an issue with that because you are communicating with them that, hey, I'm not going to be able to file on time, give me a new date. They're like, okay, you're not going to be able to file on time, we won't have to, we know we're going to get it from you eventually anyway, so here's your new file date kind of thing. It's not really a big issue with the IRS because you're still in compliance in that regard. So anyway, you're talking about pushing back the normal, not the extension date, but the normal filing date of December 15th. Now, even if they don't do that, if you have a July 15th deadline and you need to file an extension as an organization or as an individual, you could go up to 6 months, which means that now you're dealing with still filing 2019 while you're preparing 2020 taxes in 2021. From a financial accountant and tax preparer standpoint, it can get ugly, but for those who are well organized, it's not so much a big deal. At the same time, if you're well organized in the first place, you don't need the extension anyway. I'm just saying, if you're organized, you're ready to just boom, go. Having said that, it's perfectly understandable. A lot of people have issues with organization. It's not a big deal. It's not taboo or anything like that. It just is. There are certain areas of my life where I'm very well organized, others not so much. It is what it is. It's all good. It's all good. So, on tax returns, as of June 12th, the latest date about which we have statistical evidence from the IRS, they have received 136.5 million returns from the American people. Of those 136.5 million received, they have processed 124 million point, 124.6 million returns. They have processed and issued returns upon those who are eligible. What is the difference between the 124 and the 136? The 124 million were by and large those by which were electronically filed, where a computer system said, okay, I've received it, everything checks out, here's your money. There's very little labor involved in cross-checking any of those. It's sort of automatically just processed and kicked out, and here's your money kind of thing. It's the easy way of filing. That's where the vast majority of people do it, that we don't have to worry about stamps and mailing it in and waiting and everything else. It's an easy way of doing things, but not all cases are eligible for that. Case in point, my uncle, lost my aunt in 2019. Her Social Security number was shut down as a deceased person. The IRS received the e-file from my uncle and said, this Social Security number you're filing on this return, she was still alive in the beginning of the year, so she was required to be on the return. Because she was no longer alive at the end of the year, the IRS has already shut down her Social Security number and rejected the e-file, saying you can't file a deceased person. Technically, I understand how the computer would ones and zeros just say rejected out of abundance of caution over a potential fraud case there. I get that. However, if a human person examines this and says, okay, the return says this person is deceased, this date, we're alive beginning of the year, not alive at the end of the year, okay, what have you. It requires some manual processing. And fundamentally, you've got 12 million people plus who had to, for whatever reason, mail in their returns to the IRS, to the state, and local in some cases, and that requires manpower, and that is the bottleneck, because the same way corporate America and the economy at large was going through lockdown, guess what? The federal government was no exception. There were many people furloughed, there were many people put onto special circumstances to be able to work in a limited capacity. Having said that, yes, we are reopening, the economy's coming back, but you still have a significant reduction in the available workforce to the IRS to process returns. So it is a slow, arduous task to go through millions of mail-in forms, process them, and kick out the refunds. So if you haven't received your refunds yet, give it time. I know the waiting game sucks, but it is what it is. You had this electronic system forced you to have to mail it in, and now you have to have a human person open it up, evaluate it, process it, all that jazz. It takes time. I'm so sorry. But speaking of refunds, while refunds will vary greatly from individual to individual, some get very, very small, others get very, very large, depending on your withholding, depending on your taxes collected, your income generated during the course of the year. There's a lot of factors that go into exactly how much you're getting. Having said that, the average refund among the 124 million that have been processed was $2,767. Now compare that to the stimulus that came out from the CARES Act, where you got $1,200 per person in a marriage filing jointly status. That's $2,400. And then you got $500 per kid. So if you're married filing jointly and you got like 3-4 kids, yes, that one-time stimulus would have added up to more than the average refund. If you are a single individual with no kids, you didn't get that married filing jointly money, you didn't get the kids' money, you got your $1,200. That refund now looks like a nice little staple to help out with financial needs. If you're a senior citizen, your kids are all grown and out of the house, if your wife has passed away, and you did not get the stimulus money, you are really looking forward to getting your refund. So, in that regard, now the other thing about the stimulus thing is that's a one-time deal. That took an act of Congress to pass and the president to sign off on. And while there have been a lot of chatter in Capitol Hill about additional stimuluses, nothing has been voted upon, nothing has been passed. As far as that is concerned, they don't exist. I've seen plenty of stimulus updates videos talking about the HERES Act or another wave of stimulus. They don't exist. Nothing has been voted upon. Nothing has been passed. It's great to talk about the possibilities of what might be, but they do not actually exist. I am so sorry. And with the economy opening up and the health crisis being considered under control, I'm not a medical expert. I do not begin to speak upon how it's actually being managed. I do not know how well what the environment are like in these medical facilities treating patients. I do not know. So please do not hold that against me regarding the declared recovery state by the government. We are talking about the government here, with which I've always felt is more interested in staying in power than they are in the American people, but that's beside the point. I digress. I'm keeping politics out of this. The reality of the matter is that the official word is that across the country, states are going green, people are returning to work, and as such, they consider the medical capacity sufficient to handle whatever might be coming up with any new waves of the virus, and therefore there is no discussion about actually implementing additional stimuluses. People are able to return to work or find new jobs and generate their own revenue, and therefore there is less need to push a stimulus for the economy, because the economy will recover as corporate America goes back to work, as people begin getting their paychecks and have cash flow, they get caught up on the bills and go about their lives. So with that being said, hopefully the unemployment rate will start dropping down from the 20 plus million people who are out of work, and people will be able to get back on track with their finances. And hopefully those who have not received their tax refund, that'll be a little bit of a boost into their wallets and help provide some extra cash flow to go about doing what they want to do. So I got both my stimulus and I filed electronically, so I got my money pretty quickly. But there are other people who have not. I know some people who haven't even filed yet, because there's a lot going on there. A lot of the people who haven't filed yet are probably people who may not be getting a refund. They're not particularly eager to do so, but they don't want the fees and the penalties for not filing. So that is the situation there. I would love to know what you think about what I think about what's going on with the stimulus, what's going on with the refunds, what's going on with the economy. Let me know what all you think about the financial element of this current day and age. I would love to hear. Let me know if you got your return. And if you do put in the comment section that you got your refund, I don't need to know how much it was. That is your personal business. I'm just happy for you that you got that extra cash flow and it's helping out your family. If you did happen to get that, please put that in the comment section below. I would love to enter you into a future raffle. Terms and conditions of that raffle I have not determined yet, but it has been encouraged by my wife to do a raffle for a future video to give out some sort of prize, and we need some sort of criteria to enter contestants into that. So this is a nice way to start that off. If you're interested in participating, feel free to throw your hat in the ring there and see what happens. In any event, thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate your loyalty, your patronage. And if you just happen to be coming across this video on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I love bringing you this content, and I appreciate all of you for watching. Thank you, and have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you next time.